planet one. Race one, love one, people one. Too many things that's causing one to forget about the main cause.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of Evolutionary Entrepreneurs 2015, where we're bringing you non-conventional business wisdom from spiritual luminaries and really helping you create the most impact and income possible this year. And today has just been so sweet and expansive. We've heard from Rika Zimmerman and Jennifer McLean, and now we're here with Lynne. Hello, Lynne Twist.
Hi.
It's so good, so good to have you here. I want to just acknowledge for many of you, thank you for posting on the Facebook page all day and yesterday too. And many of you poured your hearts out and just shared some wonderful, wonderful comments about your experience with Jennifer McLean and the exercise she just walked us through. Just want to acknowledge those of you who have been vulnerable and connecting. And, you know, we attract such an incredible, authentic, evolutionary tribe. Definitely go over there and let us know what it is that you do and what you love about being here. And, you know, any comments for Lynne that you post there, we'll make sure we send over to her so that she gets to see those. And we like to keep kind of a running note-taking guide on that Facebook page. So when Lynne spouts out her incredible wisdom about your relationship with money and how to really grow into a more sustainable place, be sure to capture it on the Facebook page so that if somebody misses something brilliant that Lynne says, they might be able to capture it on the Facebook page, kind of like a running note-taking guide. For those of you that don't know or aren't as familiar with Lynne, and even for those of you that are, I want to introduce her properly. Lynne is the founder of the Soul of Money Institute. She's the author of the best-selling book, The Soul of Money. It's my favorite money book. It's actually a required read for all of our clients that go through our year-long programs. I don't know if you know that, Lynne, but the book is all about transforming your relationship with money and with your life. And over the past 40 years, Lynne's worked with over 100,000 people actually in 50 different countries. And her clients include Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, the International Unity Church, Charles Schwab, the United Way, the National Black Theater of Harlem. I love that. And Harvard University. Lynne's been a featured speaker for the United Nations Women's Conference, and Lynne has had extensive dialogues with some of the most important people for social change, the Dalai Lama and many, many others. She's the recipient of the prestigious Women of Distinction Award from the United Nations, and I think it deserves to be said, Lynne, that you've also raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Amazon rainforest. And just thank you from my heart for the work that you do on the planet. And every single one of us that is here is celebrating you in gratitude for all of the incredible presence and love that you've brought to the indigenous people of the Amazon and to the rainforest itself.
Well, thank you very much, Sage. Wow. Woo! Wonderful to be with you and to hear you do your beautiful work and to acknowledge and celebrate what I've done and who your people are. So thank you.
You're so welcome. For those of you that don't know, I actually got to go to Ecuador with Lynne and her husband Bill and John Perkins last August, and it was the most life-changing trip that I've ever taken, to get to go be with the Achuar people in the Amazon. And I've traveled all over the world, and to wake up with this dream culture at 4 in the morning was just absolutely phenomenal. So a few of those stories might come out here in the interview as well. But Lynne, I would love for you to just start out by speaking to the future entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs that are launching in our world right now who want to do good work like you have. You know, they want to start a business for the right reasons. And we also, as a tribe of entrepreneurs, are grappling with the fact that we know the world, you know, in many ways is in dire straits. And there's more potential and possibility than ever before. And so what advice do you have for us as business owners that want so badly to grow a business that gives back and for the right reasons?
Well, first of all, the timing of wanting to do that and being someone who is doing that is just, could never be more perfect than it is right now. Business is the largest institution on earth. It's larger than government or church. The church, which used to be the largest entity and governing structure on earth, now it's really business. And business has been chartered in a way. Originally, business was chartered. You had to get a new charter every year to prove that you were improving society by your business. That was the original charter of business in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and Europe. And those kind of rules have fallen by the wayside. Those charters are no longer required. And now the kind of unfortunate charter of business is the bottom line and nothing else. And I think everybody in business knows that that's not whole enough, that's not true enough, that's not consistent with the intentionality of anyone who starts a business. And so the opportunity now to broaden and deepen the meaning of business in our society, and particularly the entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur is the innovator, the entrepreneur is the passionate player, the entrepreneur is the inventor, the entrepreneur is someone who works from vision. And that vision at the outset of any really worthy enterprise includes making a difference in the world. And I know anybody who's on this particular program, in this summit, who's working in any way, anywhere in the nearby orbit of Sage Levine, is doing something meaningful. So first of all, I want to praise and acknowledge and celebrate the entrepreneur of our time, because it is now the track, the path, the metrics, everything about entrepreneurship now includes social benefit. It absolutely does. There's just no question about it. And that is the times we're living in. Thank God it's arrived, and we need it. It's a match for the mountain that we're working on, that we're living on, that we're climbing in today's world. So there couldn't be a better time to be an entrepreneur. There couldn't be a better time for the creativity and innovation that comes with that, and there couldn't be a better time to have it framed and contextualized and coming from a place of ultimate service, sustainability, social justice, and really being fulfilling for everybody involved. So yay, entrepreneurs.
And be sure to sit far enough back from the camera that as soon as you get too close, then it's hard to hear you. Yeah.
I don't have my.
We love you, beautiful people.
I should put my earphones on, maybe, huh?
If you want to, I can hear you great. By the way,
okay. Well, I'll stay.
I think the sound is fine.
Okay.
So, Lynne, I think where I'd like to go is to ask you, how do we continue to heal our relationship with money? Because I know for a lot of the folks that are listening, we are forming a new relationship with money as we launch our businesses. We're learning to ask for the sale. We're learning to charge what we're worth. We're learning to package our services. We're, learning to value ourselves more. And yet, a lot of the times, what we would give in our businesses, we would almost do for free if we could, because we love it so much. So can you speak a little bit to this place where it's like we almost, what I see in my clients, and I was talking to some of them about this yesterday, is they almost push away money because they have this wound around like, well, I don't want to be part of the problem. Like, I don't want to be part of the materialism, the power hungry, the corporate America, but yet it's us, right? It's us being willing to receive money that's going to change the world. And so can you speak a little bit to the work that you can help us do around healing that relationship? And I know you've got more information, and we'll tell people where to go for more information if they don't get everything they need on this interview, but I'd love to have you speak to that.
Well, thank you for that wonderful question. I have a view that money has been so hijacked and so distorted in our culture that it's become a kind of pathological part of our lives. And that is totally normal. So rather than being something that I think is abnormal, it's become normal to be pathological about money. So if you're kind of crazy about money, then you're normal in today's world. And that's really because the consumer culture has promoted and also actually immersed us all. We're flooded with what I call the condition of scarcity, which is a belief that there's not enough to go around, more of everything is better, and that's just the way that it is. And this mindset of scarcity, that there's not enough to go around, someone's always going to be left out, and you've got to make sure it's not you or the people you love, and more of everything is better, and you're desperately trying to get more all the time, but you're embarrassed about it, and then that's just the way that it is, and you got to live with it, are the three toxic myths in what I call the mindset of scarcity. The first being there's not enough. The second being more is better. The third is it's just the way that it is. And they're all three a little bit toxic because they distort our view of ourselves and our world, and they clearly distort our relationship with money. Money actually was invented many, many, many years ago, 4,500 years ago, to facilitate the sharing of goods and resources among us so that we would live in an equitable world. That was the original intention behind money. Now money has gotten a bad name. You know, it's kind of used to manipulate and to control and to marginalize and to oppress. And money itself is innocent. It's really the way we use it. And an entrepreneur that's involved with usage and involved with all the people who are on this webinar or this telesummit, or what should I call it? Telesummit? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's a video summit.
Video summit. I know are people who are drawn to entrepreneurship because they want to make a difference with their lives and with their money. And if you look at money as something that we invented that flows through everyone's lives, it just moves around the world. You could think of it as something that belongs to all of us or none of us. And it comes through our lives, and it's our responsibility, our opportunity to use it in a way that makes the greatest difference for the most people, in the way we do business, and in the way we contribute it, in the way we earn profits, in the way that we save, in the way that we spend. And if we can actually rethink money as just like water. You know, everybody needs water. It flows through your life, it flows through your body, it flows through the world. But when it's hoarded, when it's held, when it's stuck, water actually becomes stagnant and then toxic. And it's not usable anymore. And money's the same way. It needs to move. And entrepreneurs are the people who make it move. They make it move towards a business that's worth having money. They raise money to make a business that's worth starting. And then they move that money into the society, into their own lives and the lives of other people, and into the highest commitments that they have. So entrepreneurs, to me, are the most trustworthy owners and earners of money. And to say what's obvious, of course, there's some entrepreneurs that amass huge fortunes, but the entrepreneur spirit is one of service, is one of moving things in the direction of the highest good. That's really what an entrepreneur wants to do, or they're not passionate about it. You know, the passion that you feel about your business, whatever it is that you actually see you can make a difference. And if the money that you earn, the money that you raise, the money that you use also has that spirit, that enzyme to it, then in fact it will make a difference. And you won't hoard it, but you'll move it in the direction of the highest good.
I love what you're saying, and I think that gives us permission to accumulate more, because we know that we can do good with our money as we grow it. Money's like a tool, right? We can use, it's like a hammer. We could use it to build a house. We could also use it to tear down a house. And every single one of you is going to be using your money to build the house. And I recommend giving back from the very beginning, not waiting until you're making $5,000 or $10,000 a month or 6 figures or 7 figures. Don't wait until then to give back. One of the ways that I feel like I've been able to triple my company for the last few years has been by giving back. Like, the reason I want to keep reaching these, more people and employing more people and growing is because deep in my heart, I just want to be able to give back more. And you all are the same, and we'll hit an upper limit if we don't start giving back from the very beginning. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. And so to find a cause that you feel really aligned with and start there. And
now, I would say there's a beautiful phrase that I use in the Soul of Money work, that be known not for what you accumulate, but what you allocate. So, I want to be known for what I allocate, not what I accumulate. And you need to accumulate in order to allocate, of course. I don't mean to skip that step. But you don't need to be, overwhelmingly wealthy before you give. It actually is at the very heart of the action of sufficiency is sharing. And what you said, Sage, I really want to underline that to everyone, that if you are like Tom Shoes, for example, where he started his business where every single pair of shoes that he makes, Blake Mykowski, he gives a second pair of shoes. And if you buy from Tom's, you probably know a pair of shoes goes to someone in need. So from the very first pair of shoes that he made two. You pay for both of them, and one of them goes on your feet, and the other goes on someone else's feet who needs it. And that company's been so successful because the ethic of sharing has been at the heart of the company rather than something that happened later.
It's so beautiful. My clients who work with us for a year actually sign an agreement at this point with us that they're going to give back from the very beginning and actually build their give back into their branding. And so, for instance, we have a client that designs websites. She loves the zebras, and so now her website is black and white, and people know if I hire you to design my website, I'm also going to be helping a zebra, and she's getting business.
Oh, great.
For that reason, right? And so you guys can use your passion for doing good on the planet to also help you reach your clients, because your divine right clients will recognize you and they'll recognize your heart. You know, Lynne, you just made me think of something that I heard in Ecuador. I'd love to just tell this 1-minute story. When we were there with the Achuar people, John Perkins pulled me aside and he told me this story that the women and the men have different roles. And I know you've heard this story in the Achuar tribe. And the women have the role of creating, right? They make babies and they make chicha, which is their main carbohydrate drink. And the men are also known as destroyers. They go hunting and they go get trees for building lodges and shelter, and they go fishing. The women have another job, though. The women also have a job of telling the men when to stop. So when the men have brought home enough fish, the women get to say that's enough fish for the village, stop killing fish. And when the men have cut down enough trees, the women get to say that's enough trees, you know, stop cutting down trees. We have enough to build the shelter. And when the Achuar people, the indigenous people of the rainforest, see pictures of the West and the overgrowth that's happened here, they oftentimes have the same response. They say, why haven't the women told the men to stop? Mm-hmm. And John Perkins told me that story in Ecuador. He said, I want you to go back and tell the women that you work with that story. Mm-hmm. And when I tell the women that story, there's always all this tears and this movement of emotion. And I've come to realize it's not just about the women telling the men to stop, but it's about the feminine in all of us. It's about the feminine in women and in men that know that we've reached a carrying capacity for the earth. And with everything that's going on, we have to do something different. Can you speak to the overwhelm that we sometimes get into and feeling like we have to change this, we have to turn this around, we have to save the world, and how that can actually sometimes deter us from doing like the one next thing that we're meant to do?
Oh, that's a wonderful way to approach this topic of really understanding the distinctions of sufficiency. First of all, the privilege of being alive at this time in history when the tide is literally turning at such a deep and profound level that, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, people will sing songs about this time in history, about the 21st century, the early years of the 21st century. They will be so grateful to people living today for the choices we make that actually sustain life. To me, that context and knowing that we're living at a time where the choices we make impact the future of life for the next 1,000 years ennobles your life rather than burdens you. Rather than being overwhelming, it actually dignifies the very smallest action. It makes the decision to take the BART train instead of drive across the bay an ennobling act. It makes the decision to actually reduce your garbage by half an act of generosity and love for future generations. I mean, the truth is, any act that we take that is in service of the sustainability of life, of social justice for the rest of the world, of recognizing, acknowledging, and respecting our kin, which is every other living being, whether it's an insect or a zebra or an elephant or a tree or a plant on this planet. It dignifies your life. It ennobles you. And it doesn't need to be a big action. It just needs to be your action. You don't need to play a big role or a small role. You just need to play your role. And if you discover what it is, it will be miraculous for you. There's a very famous quote from Mother Teresa, who I had the great privilege of knowing and working with, is that there are no, we don't have to do great things. It's to do small things with great love. And that's another way of saying, just play your role and be conscious, aware, and realize that your actions actually do have both consequences and they make a difference.
I love, love, love what you're saying. And I was hoping that you would talk a little bit about what you learned from being with Mother Teresa those years.
Oh, gosh. Well, Mother Teresa didn't say much. She was everything you would want her to be and then some. She was right in there answering her own phone and washing the floors with the other nuns and sitting in the chapel praying with everybody else. You had to really kind of almost blend into everything if you were working with her, because she did not distinguish herself as special. She, one of the greatest things I learned from her is that she saw Christ in every face, not just the people who were underprivileged or people who were living in poverty. She saw Christ in the face of the moneylender. She saw Christ in the face of the corrupt government official. She saw Christ in the face of the trafficker of young girls. She knew that inside of every human being there was the love of Christ. And she knew that and this is also true of the teachings of Buddha and probably every great sage, like Sage Levine, that all of us have in the soil of our lives, our makeup, a seed for evil, a seed for jealousy, a seed for hatred. We also have a seed for love, for compassion, for forgiveness, for a heart. And it's the seeds that we choose to water and feed and nourish that grow the garden of our life. And it's an interesting thing to talk to you now, because during this period of time, during your very exquisite and important gathering of great souls and teachers, we're dealing at another level with the terrorism in the world, and that terrorism to actually combat it and try to conquer it is sort of an approach that I don't know is really going to work. It's almost like the line between good and evil runs down the middle of all of us. And if we can realize that these are people who are so horribly wounded and oppressed and hurt and have been so crushed that their anger and resentment and fierceness comes from some terrible, terrible, terrible oppression, rather than there's some evil in them, we will own both the capacity for jealousy and smallness and pettiness in ourselves, and use this time where we're actually facing it in the human family in a way that transforms who we are, rather than target somebody and try to go bomb them and kill them. So I don't mean to get into a political discussion, but what I really mean is that these are human beings who've lost their way, just like you and I do sometimes, and they've lost it in some of the cases for 50 years. They've been in some sort of brutal, violent, horrendous situation. I've done some work in prison, and when you're in prison with people, particularly who murdered someone, and they share about what led them to that act, you realize that every single way that their life was given to them and the things that happened to them led them to do exactly that. That was a completely consistent act with the way they were raised, rather than they're evil. And so I really feel that we're at a time where every single one of us, as Mother Teresa said, has a role to play in transforming hatred. She said this totally cool thing. She said a lot of cool things, but as I say, she didn't talk much. But one time, and this is a pretty famous quote, she said, "The unadulterated love of one person can nullify the hatred of millions.
Wow.
The unadulterated love of one person can nullify the hatred of millions. And that, to me, is that says what it was like to work with Mother Teresa. That says it all. She was that. And if you think about it, her unadulterated love of one person did nullify the hatred of millions. And we all have that capacity.
I keep getting goosebumps as you're talking, just that rush up the back of my neck and that open-hearted rush of gratitude and of truth. When you hear truth, it's like that physiological response. So I hope you guys are taking notes. If you have not read The Soul of Money, that is the book that Lynne wrote. She outlines an incredible example and an incredible story of working with Mother Teresa and having this very wealthy couple swoosh into the office with all of their gemstones and their hurriedness. And I'll never forget. I think I've read through that passage 15 times. I read it out loud to people I love, and just that compassion that we have to cultivate within ourselves if we truly want to serve people, both for those that are in need and also for those that have gotten too far on the other end of the accumulation spectrum. And what you're speaking to, I think, is such pivotal work for spiritual entrepreneurs, because our business is our spiritual path. And in being able to step into this role of mentorship and leadership that we're stepping into, we're continually having to integrate these different parts of ourselves. The one that just wants to give it all away, the people pleaser, the one that wants to make sure there's enough money, and and the one that's angry, angry at the people that maybe are further along doing it a way that we wouldn't do it, right? Like I see a lot of my clients struggle with, like, well, this person's already doing it. Why should I do it that way? Or I don't want to do it that way. Therefore, maybe I shouldn't do it at all, right? And really integrating these different parts of us so that we can be this whole person, forgiving ourselves when we fall off and celebrating ourselves when we, show up. And Lynne, can you speak a little bit to your journey of getting your message out into the world, and how can you support those folks that are watching us right now and saying, wow, she's gotten to, bring her message into the lives of so many, and where do I even begin?
Ooh, let's see. Well, I was so fortunate to study with Buckminster Fuller many, many years ago, the great humanist and architect and designer who invented the geodesic dome. And Bucky, we affectionately called him Bucky. He was in his 80s.
I love Bucky. Oh my gosh.
He really, I didn't understand anything he was talking about almost ever, but I loved him, and he was such a role model for me. And Bucky, he just told the truth all the time. And his life was a symbol, an expression of integrity. And when the Hunger Project began, we were charged with the huge task of enrolling and engaging and inviting and eliciting and galvanizing ultimately millions of people to begin to realize that what was missing was a commitment to end hunger. And so I was responsible for enrollment. Enrollment meant we had a goal of getting 6 million people to sign a little card saying, I'm willing to be responsible for making the end of hunger and starvation an idea whose time has come. And we managed thousands and thousands and thousands of volunteers who went out into the general public, who did presentations, who talked at their church or their community center or at their company or in their family or on the street corner, to engage people in the commitment to end world hunger. And I remember those days. Right now, your question brings them up because my responsibility was to, quote unquote, get the message out, get the message that hunger can be ended, it's not inevitable, and that you can make the difference. And I learned then, and I've carried that with me, that if you actually look deeply into what you are committed to, and out of that, create what I call the compelling, irresistible conversation for what you stand for. It's like a magnet. You don't have to put it out. It's almost like a space into which people step, which is a little bit of a different dynamic than promotion and marketing maybe didn't connote. it's an environment that you create, a conversation that you create that's compelling, irresistible, respectful, and honors who people are, and it becomes a magnet for them to step into that space. So that's a little bit of a different dynamic than marketing and promotion, but I know marketing and promotion is good stuff, and I probably need to know more how to do that. But I do know that when it became clear that we were creating a context for the end of hunger to be something that the world community would tackle, take on, have conversations about, and then begin working on, that was something I knew I could do. That was only an individual can create context. And so it doesn't take a huge company or zillions of dollars. It's a stand. It's a place to come from. And it becomes an expression, a conversation, an environment into which people are welcomed. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's...
You absolutely did. And I love what you brought, because it's something that I really say to my clients all the time. And you took it one step further, which is that people actually don't buy what it is that you're selling. They buy what you believe. You know, people buy from people they trust, and they want to do business and get support from people whose values align. And so what Lynne is inviting you to do, and what I'm inviting you to do, is to really ask yourself, what is the thing that I want to take a bold, committed stand for in my life? Like, what am I totally committed to? What would I die for? You know, and post that on the Facebook page so that we can really get to know each other and really start to flush those out. And when I went to Ecuador with you, Lynne, I realized that one of the reasons I want to help social entrepreneurs and conscious entrepreneurs and healers and coaches and mentors and authors that have a message for the world is that that is something I would die for. I would die for the cause of getting more money into the hands of people that I know are going to do the right thing with it. And yeah, I really, really acknowledge that you brought that piece. I'm wondering if you can speak to one more part of your journey. And that is the part of your journey when you shifted from working for the Hunger Project, which had been your life work, to totally turning the tide of your own life and making a move toward totally dedicating your life to the rainforest. And the story of you, seeing these images and getting all of this intuitive guidance to totally shift your life's work is a story that has completely shifted the way I think about like what I'm listening to in the building of my business. I've shifted my business direction twice in a huge way because I'll get an intuitive hit or something will happen in my life where it's like, oh, that's my intuition guiding me. And the reason I've trusted it in large part is because of your story about how you trusted it. Would you be willing to tell that story and just help us understand how to follow our own intuition as evolutionary entrepreneurs?
I'd love to. I'm experiencing a little bit of frozen sage on Skype. So if I freeze, just let me know.
Okay. And were you able to hear the question?
I heard your question, and I could see you, and I heard you perfectly. Great. So hopefully, even if my image freezes, my voice will continue.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, well, in 1994, I was doing a favor for one of our largest donors at the Hunger Project, and he asked me to go to Guatemala to train his development director in a project that he was doing down there. And in the context of that, I had the great opportunity to travel with my friend, John Perkins, who is also a co-founder of the Pachamama Alliance. John had spent many years by then working in the Ecuadorian Amazon and was very, very familiar with the indigenous people there, particularly the Shuar. And so John and I were on this trip to Guatemala, and in the context of all kinds of things that I won't go into, we ended up seeing a shaman. John had been trained in shamanism and was very interested in seeing this shaman named Roberto Pose. And we took a small group of people with us from our larger group that was back at the hotel. And it was the middle of the night, and we sat around a big fire, and the shaman, Roberto Pose, asked us to put our feet towards the fire and lie in a kind of wheel around the fire, which we did do. And then he started drumming and chanting, this beautiful, beautiful sound of a shaman's chanting, which I'd never heard before, but it became completely mesmerizing, and this steady drum beat. And as he was chanting in his language, his Mayan language, the suggestion that John made, as the shaman had requested him to, was to journey Now, I didn't really know what that meant, but as the drum, the night air, the crackling fire, and the voice of the shaman kind of enveloped me, I went into some sort of an altered state, and I did, in fact, what I now know was journey. And lying there in my state in the middle of the night with these people around the wheel of the fire, I start to feel my right arm turn into something other than an arm, and I realized it was becoming a wing, and I just had to extend it. I mean, there was no way I couldn't do that. And then I felt my left arm turn into another gigantic wing, and I just had to extend it. And then I felt a beak grow on my face, and after just a few seconds I was suddenly just dying to fly, and I began to flap in slow motion these gigantic wings, a wingspread of maybe 10, 12 feet, and I flew up above the campfire looking down on the wheel of 10, 12 people and saw myself lying there. But yet clearly I had become a gigantic bird. And as I flew in this slow motion experience, I went way up high in the sky, and it was just incredible, soaring. I mean, I'm remembering it right now. It just felt so awesome to fly. And then I looked down again, and now I was over a vast, unending forest of green. And it went forever and ever and ever. And as I looked down, at a certain point, these disembodied faces of men with orange geometric face paint on their faces and yellow, red, and black feather crowns on their heads began to float up towards the bird and speaking in a strange tongue, calling to the bird in a sort of call-like, hypnotic, trance-like way. And then they would disappear back into the forest, beneath the canopy, and they'd be gone. And as I flew in slow motion a little bit farther, then they would appear again. These faces, disembodied faces with these orange geometric face paint and yellow, red, and black feather crowns, and then they would float back down into the forest. And this went on and on for I don't know how long, until I suddenly heard a very loud drum beat. And the singing had stopped, and this chanting of the shaman was no longer happening. And I opened my eyes and sat up, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm a human being. I'm here with this group. I just went somewhere amazing, and the fire had all burned down to almost nothing. And the shaman then, through John Perkins, who was translating for him, asked each of us to share our vision, and I shared what I've just shared with you. And it went all the way around the circle until it got to John, and then he shared a very similar story. And then the shaman completed the ritual, asked John and I to stay, and we were told, and John kind of knew anyway, that it was not a normal vision, that in fact we were being called by someone, by a dream culture, to come to them. And John, bless his heart, knew exactly who it was and exactly where they were. He said to me, Lynn, it's the Achuar people. I was telling you about them. They've been an uncontacted tribe in the Ecuadorian Amazon, and when I was last in Ecuador with the Shuar people, I found out that the Achuar are ready for contact and that they would be reaching out through their dream reality to ask people to come to them. And that's what this is. We must go. And at that time, I was responsible for 47 countries for the Hunger Project, countries like Ethiopia and the Gambia and Senegal and Ghana and Nepal and India. I just had no bandwidth to go to the Amazon. I wasn't even thinking about the environment. I was so overwhelmed with my job. So I said, John, you go. That's your work, not mine. He told me, though, he said, you'll come, you'll see. It won't stop until you come. And so then I went on to Africa, where I had a board meeting in Accra, Ghana, and sitting around a table in a hotel in Ghana, having a board meeting with Ghanaian people, 8 people, 5 men and 3 women. At a certain point in the meeting, the men, with their blue, black, beautiful Ghanaian faces, started to have orange geometric face paint just show up on their faces.
Amazing.
And everyone kept talking if this wasn't happening, and I was just like gobsmacked. They say in England. And I left the room and then came back, and it happened again. And I finally just burst into tears and realized I needed to fly home, that I was losing my mind. And all the way home, I saw the faces from Accra, Ghana to Frankfurt on the plane, from Frankfurt to New York, from New York to San Francisco. Until I got home and I finally reached John, he said, yes, Lynn, they're waiting for us, we must go. And so we finally put a group together. We flew down to Quito, where you went, Sage, to the Ecuadorian capital. We traveled down the Valley of Volcanoes, over the eastern side of the Andes, through the cloud forest to the Amazon, and a small plane took us into Achuar territory. And once we were all 12 of us, we took a group of 12 there, they came out of the forest with their orange geometric face paint, their yellow, red, and black feather crowns, and their spears. And that was the encounter that changed my life forever.
It just taps me into this truth that there's so much happening in our world that's not conscious. It's not there's so much more than what we know that moves us and that calls us. And one of the things, correct me if I'm wrong, that I love about the story is that the Achuar people were actually calling you, that there was somebody down there that had a vision of a Western woman coming to hear their call. Is that right?
Well, I don't know if I can say that for sure. When we talk to them, they don't talk about that kind of thing very much because it's sacred for them. In many ways, I might say it a little bit differently, that they put out a call and I was lucky enough to hear it.
Yeah.
That's another way of looking at it. And I would say the call we now see, we thought it came from the Achuar people. But then we realized after working with them for the first few years that it came from the rainforest through the Achuar people. And then the more we worked on preserving the rainforest, we realized it came from the spirit of life through the rainforest, through the Achuar people, and we heard that call. And that call from the spirit of life is now coming through everyone, everywhere. In fact, I would submit and assert that the thousands of people, all of you who are on this call, hear that call now, that it's coming from the spirit of life. It's informing your business. It's informing your life. It's informing the choices you make. And if you're willing to listen to and heed and respond to that call, your business will be not only successful financially, but a contribution to the planet. It will earn a profit, yes, financial, but also a social profit. And you will become a social profit, P-R-O-P-H-E-T organization, someone who's generating a social profit, P-R-O-F-I-T, but also you'll be standing as a social profit, P-R-O-P-H-E-T, for the thriving, just, sustainable world we all want.
It's the same distinction that Neil Donald Walsh made yesterday, from profit to profit.
Oh, he did? No kidding.
Isn't that beautiful that you channeled that same piece?
Wonderful.
One of the things I love about tapping into the wisdom of the Achuar to actually help guide us in our leadership and creating our businesses is that they are coming from such an empowered place, even though they've been victims to world development in so many ways. And, for those of you that don't know, the heart of the rainforest, this chunk of the rainforest that Lynn and Bill take people to, is really the most biodiverse rainforest on the planet. And it's the rainforest that I got a chance to visit, and I got a chance to meet the Achuar people last August. And, their commitment is to not just asking us for help, but to changing the dream of the West from one of power and materialism and accumulation to one of social justice and spiritual fulfillment and sustainability. And, the heart of what their message is, if you're coming to save us, don't bother. But if you're coming because you know that our fates are intertwined, then let's work together. And when I really first came to understand the message there and the stand that they're taking for us, Lynn, my heart just opened and my life totally changed. And I became totally committed to understanding what wisdom they have for us and how can we make a difference in and with that tribal people, in and with the organization of Pachamama. And I know that when people donate just $25 to the rainforest, they're going to be contributing money to do some really good work down there. And yes, we're gifting you some really incredible trainings for your business when you make that donation. But can you speak a little bit more to what the $25 will go to?
Well, this area of the rainforest that you mentioned, Sage, is the sacred headwaters of the Amazon. And I've just returned from there. And this particular trip, just to give you a little context first, and then I'll say how the money's spent. But it rained every single day. We bathed in waterfalls. We swam and canoed in rivers. And I really got how absolutely critical the sacred headwaters of the Amazon is to the planet on which we're living, because it is the source, the largest source of fresh water in the world. If you go all the way down the Amazon system and out into the Atlantic Ocean, the water is fresh for 150 miles. It is a huge water source. And when you think about what water is in our lives, and the sacred headwaters of the Amazon being threatened by oil companies, to think that we would pollute or contaminate for a fossil fuel that we need to be done with, the very most precious ecosystem on Earth, it's just insane. And so we stand to protect the sacred headwaters of the Amazon through empowering the indigenous people who live there. And it's approximately 20 to 50 million acres of pristine tropical rainforest. And your $25 empowers the Pachamama Alliance to work with the federations of indigenous people that are dealing with governments and oil companies who are predatory energies outside of the rainforest, trying to get in there to extract those resources. But your $25 will help us educate them and the governments that are responsible for this territory that there is another way to go, that there's an alternative economic model. Your $25 will pay for the Jungle Mamas program, which is birthing kits and sanitation kits for indigenous women who have been going into the rainforest by themselves with a machete, giving birth all by themselves, and many of them losing their lives and the lives of their baby. Your $25 will pay for a study to demonstrate the power of the alternative economic models that are now really much more financially lucrative and environmentally sustainable for that region of the world, so that that remains untouched. Your $25 will pay for indigenous people from Canada and indigenous people from the Amazon coming together to share ideas and commitments to strengthen the movements to preserve our indigenous cultures in those two parts of the world and around the world. Your $25 will ensure that the children of the Amazon learn to read and write in their own language, rather than studying about the Spaniards and the conquests of their territory, because the only books that they have are in Spanish, and that's the kind of stuff that those Spanish books teach. So there's your $25 will help the indigenous people get land title to their land, so that they can go to court to protect these lands, not only for themselves, but for the future of life. The lungs of the planet, the largest freshwater source of the world, the air we breathe and the water we drink is heavily and heartily and deeply dependent on this region being preserved. So $25 will make a huge difference to your life, to my life, and to the life of future generations.
Thank you so much for absolutely encouraging and helping us understand how we can contribute. And for those of you that are asking, I'm seeing some questions on the Facebook page, and we've had many of you email in. Yes, you can click on that button as many times as you want. And we would absolutely love for you to change the quantity. And if you can give $50 or $100, every single dollar counts. And for those of you that would like to make a larger one-time donation, please just email our office, and we promise to collect it on behalf of Lynne and Pachamama. And last year we were able to raise $25,000 between this event and our follow-up event in March for the rainforest. And we're looking to exceed that goal this year. And so thank you so much for being a part of the fundraising aspect of this program. And what's really cool is that when you donate $25, our speakers have also dug into their most highly coveted trainings and files and gifted you trainings that you'll get access to when you make that rainforest donation, because our speakers are also passionate about helping and promoting this cause as well. And Lynne herself is gifting you a video and teleseminar training series when you donate to the rainforest. It's called Money and You, and it includes 4 short videos about how to really change from being having money be like an enemy to your happiness to having money be just like an ally on your journey of fulfillment and leadership. Can you say a little bit more about that training they'll get access to?
Yes, I've been very fortunate to do a 9-month program with Dave Ellis, Tammy White, and myself over the last couple of years, and we've had people have had so many amazing results, and really, I actually got to say, real miracles, money miracles out of the course. That we decided, God, we got to do this for free to as many and get as many people as possible this information. So, Dave is a kind of an Uber coach. He's really, really, really skilled at coaching people into their excellence and greatness. Tammy White is a financial literacy expert, and she makes stuff like cash flow sound fun, and she's really good with money maturity and distinctions of finance that sometimes are beyond most people's grasp. But she makes them graspable, finite, and simple. And then my work is to transform people's real relationship with money, just heal their wounds and fears, and have them really see that that money is a conduit for their love and commitment. And so this teleseminar series is a little Dave, a little Tammy, a little Lynne. I talk about transformation and the distinction between transformation and change. I talk about scarcity and sufficiency. Dave talks about celebration. Tammy talks about money maturity, and it's just there's these little cool little nuggets. So then there'll be several offerings in February and March and April and May to 1-hour telesummits where we'll answer questions to have your relationship with money be something that you can transform on your own. So that's what I'm offering, and I hope everybody loves it.
Oh, I cannot wait to have some of you guys take advantage of that and that curriculum, and Dave and all those guys. I speak so highly to that training. Thank you so much. Many of my clients have done that training alongside our training, and it's just helped them so much with that money relationship piece. So now is the time. If you're on the fence about donating to the rainforest, now is the time to click that button right below and just go ahead and put your credit card in so that we can get you access to those incredible free trainings for evolutionary entrepreneurs so that you can keep building a business that grows yourself, that grows your clients, and that grows and evolves the world into the direction that we're all going. And to really be a part of this movement that we're creating on the planet, where we are creating the movement that people will sing about. I love that you said that people will be singing about 100 years from now, 200 years from now, the great turning. Oh, it gives me goosebumps, Lynne. I know how busy you are, and I thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I know, and I can see from the Facebook posts, there are so many touched hearts out there. There's just an outpouring of love and appreciation for you. Thank you for your stories. For every single one of you that's joining us, thank you for being here yesterday. Thank you for being here today. Congratulations for focusing on your business. We are going to wrap for the day and be back tomorrow morning. We're going to be back with 3 incredible evolutionary strategists tomorrow so that you can take all of this heart opening and all of these ideas that are popping for you and the awarenesses, and really put them into some business strategies to help you really reach more people. Brett started us with that yesterday afternoon, and we're going to continue that thread. We've got Ocean Robbins and Stephen Dinan joining us tomorrow, and yours truly. And we've all built movements anywhere from 30,000 people to 500,000 people around the globe. And we're going to be telling you some tips about how to really reach the people you feel you're meant to reach and really begin growing your tribe. So join us back here tomorrow at 11. I can't wait to be back with you. Have a great night. Keep journaling about all the aha moments that you're having as a result of the work that we've done today with these 3 incredible women. Thank you again, Lynne, so much.
My pleasure, Sage. Thank you so much. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thanks to everybody for being the kind of human being that would sign up for this course and give $25 to the rainforest and to be engaged in your own transformation. Thank you.
We love you all. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.